All right, so now let's create a function that can protect certain routes in the back end. And this one's going to be quite fast. We're going to create a function inside the middleware folder because we want to be able to use it in different parts of our application. So create a new file and I'll call it auth middleware.js. Okay, and here I'm just going to, there are some things I need, and the first is, you know what, let's just come to our controller function and import some of the things. So we're going to use JWT token, user model, and we're going to need the async handler. So let me just grab these three guys and then just import it here. All right, great. Now I have created a snippet for myself to help me easily create an async handler wrapped function. So you see, and I'm going to call the name of this function protect, because I want it to be able to protect certain routes from unauthorized access. Now let's go ahead and export it. So module.export, and then I'll just set that to be equal to protect so that I can use it anywhere I want. Great. So now let's open this up. So just to keep things a little bit organized, I'll just use a try catch block so that we can just have a pictorial organization of what is going on. Now, what do I want to check first? Well, I want to check if the request that I'm getting from the front end has a token. If it has a cookie, we store the token as a cookie. So how are we going to do that? So first off, I would say const, I'll create a variable, I'll say const token, and the way we check if there is a token in the cookie is we're going to say request dot cookie, plural cookies, and the specific one we're interested in is the token cookie, because that's the name we use to save the cookie anyway. So token. Okay, so that's it. Now let me just give some space. Now what if this token does not exist? That's the first condition we're going to check. So I'll add an if statement and I'll say if there is no token, then I want to say response.status, and I just want to do a 401 not authorized. Then I'll just send a message. So let's throw an error, throw new error, and the error message will just say not authorized, please log in. Simple. All right, so that's the first check we want to do. Now what if the request came with a token? So we're going to need to verify that token. So I'm going to add a comment here just so that we can track what we are doing. I'll say verify token. And how are we going to verify token? Remember, the token was created with JSON Web Token package. So we're going to use that same package to verify the authenticity of the token. In other words, to check if the token has not expired. So I'll put it inside the variable. I'll say const verified, and that's going to be equal to, now remember we're using JWT, so JWT and then dot verify. Open your parentheses. So now we are going to give these two arguments. The first is, what do you want to verify? Well, we want to verify the token, and we are going to verify it with the JWT secrets. Remember, we created the token with this JWT secret. So that's the same thing we're going to use to verify it. So here I'm just going to say process.env dot JWT underscore secret, like so. So that's what we're verifying the token with. So now let's come down here. Now what if the token is actually verified? What next? Well, remember there are two things we use when we're creating the token: the user ID and the JWT secret. So if you allow me to quickly give you a reminder, I would scroll down to, okay, so this is one point where we created the token. I thought I just saw, okay, yeah, so we generated the token here, but the function is at the top. So you see, we are using the ID, which we set to be the user ID, and then this JWT secret. Of course, this is just the property of when it expires, but this is two main things we use to create the token. So what that means is that when we verify the token, we can get the information out of it, like the ID that it was created with. So you know what I'm going to do here? I'll just add a comment here and say get user from token. So I want to get the user ID from token. So you know what? I'm just going to say user is equal to, so how do I extract the token? I'll say await, and then I'll use my model. So user dot find by ID, because remember we created the token with the user ID, so we can actually extract that ID and find that user. Now how are we going to get access to the ID? Remember we verified the token and we saved all the information inside this verified variable here. So what that means is that I can come here and find the user by verified dot ID. All right, now this will give me all the user information saved in our database, but then there's one thing: I don't want the user's password to be sent back. I want every other information except the user's password. So the way you tell MongoDB that you don't want the user password to be sent back is you say select, and then you say minus whatever property. So in our case, it's password. Okay. So now that we are querying the database for the user, what if we query the database and we don't find the user? Let's have a check for that. So I'll add an if statement. And let me just come to the next line. I'll add an if statement like this, and I'll say if there is no user, then what do I do? Well, I'll just throw an error. So let me just grab this guy and say that look, the user was not found. I'll copy this guy here and I'll just slot it in here like this, and I'll say user not found. User not found. Okay, so that's one. Then okay, so what if the user is found in the database? So the next thing is we are going to save that user to this request object here. So the way I'll come here, the way I'll save it is I'll say request.user. So this is like a new thing here, and I'll set it to be equal to the user that we just got from the database. Okay, the last thing we'll now do now is we'll now call the next piece of function to run. So what that means is this request response, we'll need to add a next here, so that if there's any other code that needs to run after this middleware, it will just run. So here, after the request.user is set to the user, I'll just come here and call the next piece of code to run. Okay, so in my catch block, I'll just say that look, if there's any error, just if the user does not exist, just say user is not authorized or something. So let me just grab this one that says user not authorized, please log in. I'll just copy this guy and then I'll slot it in my error here. Great. So that's about it for this one. Now let's go ahead and test out the this piece of protect functionality in our routes. So I'll come here and user routes, and then this get user here. Before the get user function is called, controller function, I'll just slot in the protect middleware. So protect, and then I'll add a comma. Let's auto import it. I'll auto import it, and that's it right there. Great, I'll save. Now let's come and modify the user controller. So I'll scroll down to the function that gets the user data. Let's get rid of all this stuff here. So by the fact that we, let me come back here, by the fact that we slot in this protect middleware to this route here, what this will do is that it will give this get user route access to the user information. So you see this request.user that we set to this user, it will provide this information to any route that you use it. In this case, we're using it in this get users route. Great. So now I'll come to the controller function and I will very quickly add the function to get the user. So the first thing is let's get the user from the database. So I'll say const user, and that's going to be equal to we're going to use the user model user dot, and we'll find by ID. And what ID do we want to find? So remember we said that whenever you use this protect middleware, you are giving that route access to this user, and you're giving it the access to the user in this request.user property. So I can now come to this controller function and say request.user._id. Okay, that should be small letter, sorry, id. Simple. Now I can now come here and just add an if statement. So I'll say, look, if the user was found, then I'll just return the data about the user. So since I already have that stuff before, I'll just grab it from, I think I have it somewhere here. So this is it here. So let's just grab it here, and I'll just scroll down. In fact, I'll just take the if else statement, and then I'll come down here and slot that in. So replace this guy. So here I'm saying that, look, if the user was found, then the structure, then send it to the front. So 200 is what I want, successful request, and then I'll get rid of the token because we're not using any token here. If the user was not found, then simply just say user not found. So here let's just say user not found. So now I think we're good to go to test this stuff. So I'll just come here to my Insomnia. Let's wait for our server to restart fully. It has restarted. So I'll come to Insomnia, and let's log out first. I'll just log out. So I'll click on log out. So I am sure that I'm logged out, and then I'll come to get user profile, and then I'll click on send. What's going on here? So we get the message not authorized, please log in. So come back to the login user route, and let's log in. So I'll send. So we are logged in. This is our login data, and then I'll come to get user profile here. Fingers crossed, hopefully we're going to get that, and then let me just click on send. So there's a problem here. We're getting an empty object. So let me look at this. So I think you probably saw the error when I typed it out. So I did not type my await here because this is an asynchronous function. So you need to have your await in front of your mongoose function here to find by ID. So if you save that and then we come back here, we should now test this again. I'll send. Voila. So you see, we now have the user information, the ID of the user, name, email, photo, phone, and bio. So that's how we can protect a route. So I think I should just try it out one more time. I'll log out, and then I'll come to get the profile. Let's send and see. Voila. So you see, not authorized, please log in. So that's about it for this one. We're able to create the protect route middleware, and then we're able to create a function to get the user profile. So that's about it. See you in the next one.